couch and you go, guys. I know he's here with us, but I really missed his smile. It isn't lost on me how lucky we are that we've had him in our lives for so long. He is such a wonderful grandfather, and I'm really happy that we can be here to celebrate his life together today. In a weird way, I really loved putting together all of these photo boards for today, and really getting to see all of the great memories and the people that built his wonderful life. You can see it from all of the photos. The courage that brought him and his brothers to this country, the humble beginnings that built his strong character, and the love that made him feel like the richest man in the world. Argento was a very proud man. He was proud of his farm, proud of his honeybees, proud of his old country and his new country. He was proud of his home, his white mustache, and his church. But of course, more than anything, he was proud of his family. In every picture, you could tell just how much his kids, his grandkids, and his whole family meant to him. He was beaming at every graduation, wedding. He shared in our victories at volleyball and baseball games. He was on top of the world even if the family was just out to eat somewhere in town. It was impossible to leave an interaction with him without smiling. You were usually lovingly referred to as either Mein Cine or Macho Man. But either way, he told you that we are the best in a way that made you believe it was true. Argento was a champion chess player, a beekeeper, sometimes a blackjack player. When he was flustered, he could have V8. He always had a stock tip for you. He had a sweet tooth and an even sweeter heart. And to us, he was the best dad, grandpa, and uncle anyone could ever ask for. He was so strong, even to his last breath, fighting every day for 2 years. When you'd walk in the house, you'd see him smile real big, and even if it took him a minute to recognize you in the last year, he'd still grab your hand and kiss you, always showing so much love. Mom, Miloseva, Savo, neither Janet nor God will ever forget the incredible kindness and love you've shown him during his final years. And thank you to everyone here, family and friends that went by to visit him and bring a little bit of joy into his day. Those of you that did visit him in the last few years probably know it was kind of hard to get English out of him. But there was one phrase he never forgot, and that was, I love you. I love you, Jedo, and as always, we are the best.
Actually, early in my life was that Chico Dragan was someone I loved even when I was little because my parents loved him. One day my dad calls him up and says, hey, Dragic, I got some bees up in a tree. Can you come and get them? And my sister Rada reminded me of this one, but he came over with no bee suit and this big bag, and he's up on a stepladder knocking him in to this bag, and I'm thinking, are you crazy? You know, because who would be out there actually with a hive of crazy bees knocking him into a bag? But that was Chico Dragan. He actually had a knack for it. He didn't get stung. I got stung. In fact, he'd call me from time to time over the years and say, hey, Sinovats. Like say I was saying, that's what he called us all. Sinovats, that means like nephew. It's not niece, it's nephew. So he called the girls nephew too. It's just a thing. But he said, what are you doing today? I said, why? Well, I didn't ask him the first time. The first time I said nothing. He said, well, come on over. You're going to help me with the bees. So I did that a couple times. And, you know, bees were my thing. We had bees on the farm, and I wasn't involved with the bees. Okay, that was my dad's hobby. And, that, you know, bees and I didn't get along. So after the second or third time he called me, I always had something else to do. But it was something that I remembered. But, you know, so we had a lot of good stories like that as kids. I can remember him at his farm. We'd stop by after church on a Sunday or something. He'd be out there, shorts, no shirt, barefoot. There'd be a soccer ball usually somewhere, and he'd be kicking around once in a while, right? And there'd be bees. Something about honey and bees. So he loved his family a lot. And I tell you what, we all, you know, are a little different in our ways and all, but deep down inside, every time I was with him, he would boast about all of his kids. He would boast about all of his grandkids. He would show me pictures of them, and we'd have a nice conversation about that. So that's kind of as a kid, but as I grew older and started my own family, and we kind of developed a closer relationship. It was one of from uncle to friend. And we'd go out to dinner, to lunch probably. I worked close to where he lived once or twice a week for maybe a year or two, and we really got close. We really developed a close relationship, and I really got to know a lot about him as a person, as a man, and what made him tick. But you know, I want to leave you with this: a couple things that Chico Dragan loved. He loved his family dearly. He loved the stock market. He always gave me a good stock tip. I took him up on some, and some I didn't. He loved real estate. He loved to play chess. We played our games of chess. I beat him a couple times, and then I wanted to quit when we were all done. He never wanted to quit. He loved his honeybees, and he loved his culture, his Serbian culture. I'd call him up. Šta radiš, Chico? What are you doing, Chico? Uncle, what are you doing? He's Serbian. I'm being a Serb. And that's the uncle I know. And I want you guys to think of this. He made me feel special. And Brittany said it. And I thought I was the only one he was telling that I was special and that we were the best. He'd always say, hey, you know what? Sinovas, you and I, we're number one. We're the best. And you know what? That's what he was able to do. He was able to bring a smile upon your face, make you feel like you're special, make you feel like you're number one. I wanted to say, Chico, I love you, I'll miss you, and like Brittany said, you're the best, you're number one. Thank you.
Uncles, Stavo was always the one that whenever we'd go to their house, we'd get in trouble because he was the disciplinarian. And Dragic was the fun one. So we knew when we'd go there, we could be wild and have lots of fun. And I remember that. I'm going to keep this short. The one thing I want to say as far as my father, he loved his brothers. There's no doubt in my mind that he loved his brothers. And he loved to spend time with them. So I'm very grateful that I was able to have that kind of relationship with my uncles, and I value and appreciate every moment that I had with them. Fond memories. So, to Chico Dragan.
Thank you.
Know him. So, you may or may not know the story. It was, I met Angie, came into their life when I was 18. So, right after senior prom, Angie doesn't know how to tell a story. But it gave me a chance to have some follow-up dates with Angie. And at one point he said to Angie, when are you going to get rid of that son of a gun Italian? And fortunately, Angie has some of the same traits her father had because they're both stubborn, which is why I'm still here today. Again, we all have great stories to think about, and that's what keeps us going. So let's think about all those stories as we move on, and we carry on. As Father mentioned in Mass, this is really something. For his 80th birthday, Angie gave him a gift to go back to Muslim. And we knew that was a gift for him. We didn't realize what a gift it was for Angie, because she got to meet all the old family and friends of everyone that she never met. Going back, I don't think he's been back for 50 years. So the story, Angie heard a lot of stories, and they did, as Father said, they came from all over the country, all over to spend time with Tata. Excuse me. And the consistency that she got in the stories was talking about how courageous and loyal Tata was. So it was really a gift for Angie to see this and hear this about her father, even from when he was a young guy, like a young man in his late teens, early 20s. So it was a great way for Angie really to learn, going that far back, hearing it from the mouths of people who used to be around her. So anyway, again, thank you so much for being here today, and again, thank all of you for the respect you have given him over the years. We were at parties, everyone always treated him with great respect. He loved all of you, so thank you so much.
Uncles, nephews. Your presence means a lot to Angie and to myself. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mara Puri, Micic Puri. I'm the oldest of the nieces and nephews that my uncle had, and there were plenty of us. My uncle called me fondly Sinovats, which I was always proud of. He always made a point of saying that. I have very fond memories of my younger days, receiving postcards from Chico from France and USA, and running to greet him upon his return to visit while we were still in birthplace, Amalia, as Father Marcos said, one of the most beautiful villages in former Yugoslavia, I must say. Chico is the last of the 7 great Micic brothers to leave us for heavenly abode. I know it will be very difficult for my family and I going forward without Chico in our lives. However, I also know that my Chico would want us to not to be overwhelmed with sadness. He was a very strong, positive individual and will always look for the best in any situation and would want us to be the same. Let's remember Chico for the great qualities and appreciate the time we spend with him. We should make sure his memory lives within us and he always with our families. Chico, your Sinovats will always be in your heart, as you will always be in mine. Wise man once said, quiet moments, worship God. Painful moments, trust God. And every moment, thank God. I thank God for having my uncle in my life. Farewell, Chico.